the very essence of the mental game is this. The only reason an event matters is because we make it matter.
Welcome to the Mullins Farrier Podcast.
I had a soccer coach, and he always said, we are going to be the fittest team always out there. Because in the moment, you don't want to be worried about being tired. You want to be focused on the soccer game.
Right.
Which is what's going to translate for me, hopefully, in the CJF, is that I'm not worried about being tired. I can focus on the task at hand.
And granted, you use like, get your specimens made. 3 months before you take your exam, get all your AW specimens made. And it's good to have other people putting that pressure on you as well. Sometimes if it's a single journey, and you've not got mentors that are coaching you, helping you, you kind of rest a little bit.
If you're hearing this, you are currently on the non-subscriber feed. If you would like to hear this episode in its entirety, please subscribe using the link below. If you're a student, apprentice, or just find yourself in a situation where it isn't financially feasible to subscribe, please reach out to me on Facebook or through the website. The good folks at Out West Design and Fabrication are lending their support by helping us to cover your scholarship subscription. You can check out many of their incredible projects on their Facebook page. Out West Design and Fabrication, your choice for Farrier rakes. Now here's a sample of this week's episode. Thank you for listening.
Most people that I know in this industry only want the best for the other people in the industry, which is a pretty cool thing.
Welcome, everyone. Well, we are less than a month away from the BFBA's Focus Convention and the International at Stoneleigh. It's not too late to pre-order your tickets online, and I highly recommend doing so after bearing witness to the record-long queues last year for people who waited to purchase theirs at the event. I've been told that protocols have been put in place to help shorten those queues, but it's still quicker to use the online option. As I'm sure you've already heard by now, the podcast has moved to a subscription-based platform, but this episode will be released in its entirety for everyone. The following is a compilation of all the audio I collected on my first visit to the 2022 Focus and Stoneleigh International. It was an incredible experience, to say the least, so much so that I am returning for my third trip this year. My goal of this episode is to give you some insight as to what the experience is like, as well as some background on what goes on behind the scenes to make everything happen. You'll hear many interviews with core members of the BFBA who work diligently year-round to ensure that both events go off without a hitch. I was so impressed by what I saw that I am a paid member of this organization myself. I would encourage you to do the same. There are many benefits to being a member of the BFBA. And now one of those exclusive benefits is having access to 2 free months of the paid feed of the podcast, which roughly equals to 4 free episodes when you sign up with the BFBA. Now, admittedly, the audio format makes it difficult to give you an idea of what the full experience of the Stoneleigh International and Focus are all about. But I'm going to give it the Boy Scouts try. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I did. The first 2 people we'll hear from were the 2 head honchos at the BFBA in 2022.
My name's Ben Benson, and I'm president of the British Farriers and Blacksmiths Association.
And my name is Abby Bonyard, and I am vice chairman of the Farriers and Blacksmiths Association.
I asked Ben and Abby what to expect over the next few days.
Well, we've got 3 sort of main parts to the convention this weekend. And we start off, we have obviously the lectures. So we've got some of the top lecturers in the country coming over the next couple of days to give us different aspects of farriery and everything from barefoot, because obviously after the Swedes did really well in the Olympics, that has come up quite a bit now. So we've got a couple of barefoot farriers and farriers that work between the 2 of them. We've got probably one of the top scientists in the equine community who works with the FEI. and did all the sort of thermoregulation of horses in competition. He's coming and talking about advice that farriers can give to clients about how to keep their horses sound. So all that thing of weeks of trotting on the road and stuff like that, he's here to blow all that out the water. And then we've also got Mark Jerram, who's a really well-renowned farrier, talking about gait analysis and how that helps him and how he uses that in his practice.
Listeners to the podcast may recognize the two gentlemen that Ben is talking about there, as I recorded a live panel discussion I did with them at that Focus. You can listen to that episode. It's with Dr. David Marlin and Mark Jerram. But I digress. Back to Ben.
Even on Sunday we've got one of the Team GB equine physios talking about equine dynamic observation, because farriers, obviously, when we look at horses, we look at the bottom 3 inches rather than the top 30. So he's coming and helping us, and that's really good in the lecture theatre.
Yeah, and then alongside that, we've got the demo area, which will be full. We've got Jay Tovey, which will be doing fitting bar shoes, his interpretation, and I'm sure there'll be so much information to gather from him. In between them, we've got supplier showcases, so there'll be more products, new products. Everyone likes a bargain as well. We've also got Ian Allison, which will be shoeing for the engine room. I know he's bringing a live horse in, so that'll be interesting. I'm not too sure how he's going to cover that, but we're all looking forward to it. We've got the members area. The members area will be bigger and better again than last year. We're actually putting out now as we speak.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
It does look impressive. I think I'm actually really proud of that.
It's really cool because obviously when you come to a convention, it's cool to be able to have somewhere that after you've done your bit of shopping and your bit of chatting, you can find somewhere. So we've got our members area. It's free refreshments, comfy chairs, sit down and just sort of take a weight off and have a bit of a natter.
The other thing is actually we will have an area there that whatever you buy, you can then leave it there in the corner.
Like a drop off.
So you can
you're not
drop
carrying
off.
it round.
Yeah, no one wants to carry that.
Yeah.
So you can buy more goods
Yeah.
and pick them up at the end of the day.
Definitely, the amount of activity in the hall now and the buzz that's going in. And like I said, Spud, Ian Allison, everyone knows him as Spud. No one realises he shoes some of the top show jumpers in the world and is really in demand shoeing that. So for him to come over and give us this weekend to show us what he does when he shod the Olympic gold medal winning horse in Rio and how he's kept them sound, that's worth the money on its own just to come and see that. And then we move outside. We've got the International Farrier Competition. It's our 41st International. We've got teams from all over the world and they're all competing over 2 days now with apprentice teams.
Yeah, I mean, they've already started. Have you walked amongst them?
Yes.
The atmosphere there is
electric.
phenomenal.
Mhm.
Actually, it's
It is.
really
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it would work outside in the marquees, but it's all
Perfect.
close and it's personable. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. And the team spirit out there is fantastic. It's really good.
It's not very often as a competitor you get necessarily to give everyone the opportunity to see what you're doing. But the way it's set up, everyone leaning over the barrier can almost feel the
Yeah.
tension
Yeah.
build.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it
So
does.
that's
It
really
does.
cool. It's like a
Yeah.
gladiator sport
It
on its
is.
own.
It's brilliant.
And then
Absolutely brilliant.
And then on Sunday, the international runs Friday and Saturday. The convention runs Saturday and Sunday. And then on Sunday, we've got an exhibition competition for the bladesmiths. So we've got 12 guys coming in, all competing. They're all getting an opportunity to basically make a kitchen knife. Those kitchen knives then get tested at the end with 2 different chop cuts by a really world-renowned bladesmith himself. And then they get graded. This is the first time we've had live knife-making
Bladesmithing,
competition in the UK, and it's been really well supported so far because bladesmiths don't compete. They don't understand it, and they've all put themselves forward and said, we're terrified beyond, but we want to have a go and we see how much fun the farriers have.
Mhm.
So that's really cool.
It's actually been well supported, hasn't it? It's
really
been
well.
We've had a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah.
And the other thing we've done this year is we have moved the competitors back a day so that they've actually got a chance to go round and enjoy the trade fair on the Sunday and support the bladesmiths
100%.
as well.
Yeah.
We did think some of the competitors possibly might.
Well, if they haven't this year, they
They
might
will next.
year.
Yeah. Might have a go themselves.
Exactly.
There's a lot of farriers that like fiddling and like playing, and bladesmithing's got a renaissance now in the media and
Yeah.
so many hobbyists. So to also have an opportunity for bladesmiths, hobby bladesmiths, they don't get to see the equipment and the tools.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, when they're starting up, they're in their gardens or the garages in the garden shed making these things off angle grinders, whereas actually an opportunity to come here, see the competition, hear the demos that are going on,
Yeah.
then walk amongst the trade stands and buy their tools.
It's another showcase.
It's another ability, for us all to see what we can do. And, looking at the price that some of these knives are going for now, there's a huge amount of money that knives are commanding, and people respect that.
Yeah.
So for farriers with the skill set that they have, gives them the opportunity to look at doing that as well.
Yeah. All good stuff.
Huge amount. And having the competition, it's been a bit of a tough call this time because competitors have never had that gap between last foot down and the presentation dinner. But it also gave us the opportunity for the stewards and the judges to be able to look over their marking schemes again. Because obviously from the bell ringing and the last foot going down to
It's a
the
very short amount
2.5
of time.
hours.
It's not enough time.
No. And before we've had to pull judges out of the dinner before the pudding,
To
the
remark.
sweet course, to remark shoes because there was a tie.
Yeah.
And that's just tough. So
Nobody wants to do
no. But this
no.
and this also means as well that the fairness is there. So when they're judging the specimen shoes, they're not having to judge them in the morning and then judge them in the afternoon when their marking might change. They can literally sit them all out on a table and judge
And
the whole
judge them
class as one.
fairly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's a much more even and fairer playing field for the competitors.
Right.
But obviously, just means they've got to hang,
They
there's
have
a
got
bit of
to hang
hang
around.
time.
A little more
Yeah.
anticipation.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But then they can have a few beers and let the hair down on Saturday night, and it's not too bad. Then they're ready for Sunday.
Really, from my point of view, I'm really excited this year. Walking around the hall, setting up the members area. I mean, it just is. I just want to get going now. Brilliant.
Me too. And also, thank you very much, Brian, for coming over.
Yes.
Oh, thanks
It's
for having me.
it's a huge kudos for us having podcasters like yourself and Danny Bennett here. Literally, we need to get the message out there about how good it is in the UK and how we can do this. And we'd love to have a situation where we've got guys from your side of the pond and our side of the pond going to each other's conventions because it's together. That's how we can support each other and be united. Then we'll conquer everything, won't we?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I alluded to this in the conversation we had before starting this. It's always been kind of this mysterious, mystical place where Stoneleigh happens and just certain people who qualified were able to go.
Yeah.
And we didn't know all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, at one point, there really wasn't all this other
Yeah.
stuff. You've built an incredible thing here. And more North Americans need to see this. This is
Good.
to the same standards that we see back home at the convention and the summit. So here's another place to see.
It would be cool to think that if in the next year, if we can do it, my ambition would be we can have almost like a package tour where guys turn up, they get to the hotel, that's it. There's buses to and from. In the UK, it's not like where it is in North America. Pretty much in 4 hours, you can get everywhere.
Yep, I can
So-
attest to that.
On the train from here, you're an hour and 10 on the fast train to London.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can sort something out and get you guys coming here, get a day down in London, see the sights. Apparently, Danny Bennett used to be in the army.
He did, apparently.
Yeah,
I
he
didn't
might
know
be able
that.
to pull a few strings, but to be able to do something and give you guys a real holiday, an opportunity to see amazing things, be part of the convention, that would be winning
That's
for
a
us.
dream. That would be something
Yeah.
to aspire to, really.
It has been interesting talking to people that have traveled from North America and elsewhere and asking them, so did you have a chance to see a castle
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And the disappointed look on their face when
Yeah.
they're like, no, we got here last night.
Interesting
Full
enough,
immersion.
literally, probably from the hotel we're staying in, probably 2.5
Is it
miles down the road, there's
a
Warwick
castle.
Castle,
I heard.
which
Yeah.
is unbelievable. It's super old. It's like everything you'd see in Harry Potter.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, we could probably dress Danny Bennett up to look like Harry Potter
We
to be our
could,
tour
yes.
guide if we wanted. But no, it'd be awesome to get your all the international guys over. Farry is a small world, and listening to your podcast, I'm very aware that the problems that North Americans have and the problems that European farriers have, they're the problems that the Brit farriers
It's all
have.
the same.
Oh, yeah.
It's all
Actually,
the same.
sometimes if we can all see each other's side and see what each other does and how we deal with things, that's what lifts an industry, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And
Oh,
a
yeah,
profession.
for sure.
That's how we
It is.
develop.
And just even the friendships and connections I've made watching the international
Yeah.
from all over the world,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweden and Switzerland, people I never would have had a
Meet
chance
all
to
these
talk
To me.
to.
crazy looking guys with crazy weird names.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to tell you any of
No,
them right
No.
now.
no,
but-
exactly.
I think social media's done the first phase for us and it's brought us all together online on Facebook, Instagram, etc. But I think you can't beat that kind of proper face-to-face interaction.
Personable,
You know,
face to face.
we found that out like during lockdown, didn't we? Where all of a sudden we had to do things online. And as soon as we opened the floodgates, we were all back there and it was a lot better.
Yeah.
You know,
There's-
but I think getting farriers face to face,
Yeah.
you know, like you say, we've all got the same problems. We all do the same job.
Yeah.
It's
Just
the
go back.
camaraderie.
Yeah.
It is a camaraderie.
And we're all a little weird.
We are
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah,
Definitely
exactly. We just
weird.
got an opportunity to come here and find weirdos like
Yeah.
yourself.
I love it.
You'll learn as much around that bar as you will, you know, stood over the railings and
Yeah.
in the lecture theatre and in the members area and in the demo area. You know, everywhere you go, you're going to go home and need 2 days to sleep afterwards because
Yeah.
it's just,
My brain is full.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, great. Thank you, guys. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
As you just heard, Danny Bennett was part of that conversation as well. Throughout the entire weekend, Danny and I teamed up and did a lot of interviews together. Now, Danny's good friend and bandmate, Mark Watson, was the chief steward that year. Obviously, he had a lot to do to prepare for the event and was very hard to pin down for an interview. Thank goodness, Danny's van broke down, so we had to hitch a ride with Mark on the way in. Within the closed confines of his van, I seized the opportunity to ask Mark some questions, including how he felt on the morning of day one of the competition.
Well, this is always the most nervous part of the whole few days. It's just the first morning, hoping that everything's all the planning and preparation that we put prior to today, hoping that everything is in place. We haven't forgotten anything. There will be things. There'll be stuff that I've forgotten, little things, but hopefully nothing major and nothing that's going to stop the show.
Now, we had the judges meeting last night with everybody there, and I guess that's kind of your first opportunity to find out if there's anything major that you're going to run into. It looked like it went fairly smoothly as far as judges meetings go.
Yeah, I think that by and large everything went well. There were no horrible surprises. It's a tried and tested format anyway, so it's not as if we're rolling it out for the first time ever. And the rules don't change, or if they do change, they're subtle changes. There's nothing major structurally to the competition that ever changes, really. Yeah, it's just normally little things like people's understanding of certain things. But I think last night went pretty well. There were no sort of major shocks for anybody. No sort of having to change people around at the last minute or anything, which is always a bit unsettling for competitors finding out they've been practicing the wrong shoe for the previous 8 weeks. But no, I think last night went well. It's a good opportunity for me to meet certain people, sometimes for the first time. But normally these people have been either competitors for years anyway and turned to management, or, you know, I will know them from various competitions or events in the farriery world that I've met before.
Right. Now, how long have you been playing this role with the competition, and why did you take it on in the first place?
I think I've been doing this for about 7 or 8 years. I'd have to check that, but I think I've done it about 6 or 7 times, and that includes the COVID years that we missed. Why did I take it on? Good question. There's a lot of organisations, a lot of things to think about, a lot of sort of people to organise. Logistically, it's a tough one. I'm an absolute sucker for punishment. I think the end of the previous regime sort of came to a natural end, and at the time I'd just left the military after a few years. So I'd organised competitions before as well. I don't know, I think it was just the group of people that were around at that time. It seemed the right thing to do to make sure that the competition continued. So I think that's the answer as to why I took it on. But, you know, I do often ask myself, normally every year, what the hell am I doing?
Now, how long does the whole process take? Like, I imagine you've been doing a lot of behind the scenes, reaching out to people and answering questions.
It's definitely months. The things that really need putting in place early on are the horses, making sure that we've got the right amount of horses and that they're suitable. Just on the horses, it's always a nervous time. They're the one thing really that are out of my control. But, you put sort of checks and measures in place, and hopefully horses come on recommendation from other farriers. So you'd hope that they're good to shoe and they're used to this sort of environment. That all needs putting in place. The blocks need laying, months prior to today. People, stewards, you need good people on the floor at all times, people that you can rely on to deal with any circumstance or situation that arises. And also people need to know about competitions and the way they run and the requirements of the competitor, because at the end of the day, we're sort of competitor central. The competitor is at the center of everything that we do. They must have everything that they require and mustn't be disadvantaged by a lack of organisation or a lack of knowledge or understanding from any of my stewards. Everything else, steel is a big one. Just making sure that all the sections are right. We got the right amounts of everything. Again, there's a lot of variables that we don't know. There are a lot of unknowns as well, like entries for teams. You can't. There's only a certain amount of things that you can do that far in advance. A lot of the things can only be done the prior sort of 2 or 3 weeks to the competition date. So there is a lot of last minute. I hate to say last minute, but it is. There's no other way of explaining it. There's a lot of last minute work that goes on to make sure that when numbers are confirmed, the amount of entries are confirmed, and just keeping in touch with people, really. I go back to the horses. It's okay booking them months in advance, but I have to keep sort of touching base with people just to make sure that it hasn't slipped off someone's radar, or if they've forgotten about something or they got the time wrong. There's a lot of information sharing over and over and over again.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of work. Well, we're about to see the culmination of that today, the start anyways. So thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure, mate. We'll catch up again.
Well, that was the one and only time I was able to corner Mark with a microphone that weekend. Earlier, you heard Ben and Abby mention the importance of the scorekeeping. The burden of that task rested solely on the shoulders of Jed Hallam. I was able to have a few brief words with Jed as he prepared for day one of the competition.
Hello, I'm Jed Hallam. I do the scoring for the internationals, and I'm sat in this office that has been fabricated next to the forges, gathering in all the scores and processing them through the computer.
Right, and this is a fairly serious job. You have to kind of check your numbers twice and print them once kind of thing, and I'm sure any mistake you make, somebody catches on pretty quickly.
Oh yes, I have to be very meticulous about how I put it through and double check everything, because I know that when those result sheets go out, everybody will go through it and try and find as many mistakes as they can. So yes, as the pressure is on.
We had a few technical difficulties last night, and I thought Jed might either be here in the morning or at the psych ward. Wasn't sure where he would end up, but happy to see him here. So thanks very much for giving me the time to do this.
All right, thank you very much. Glad to see you. Nice to meet you.
In true British fashion, it rained a heck of a lot the night previous, and some of Jed's equipment had been soaked in the process. Those were the technical difficulties we were talking about. Fortunately, Jed got those sorted, while Danny and I cleared the forging area of all the water by pushing it down the drains. As you could hear in my interview with Jed, the competition was already underway. With the anvils ringing in the background, I decided to get a competitor's take on what was going on inside their heads from Danny Bennett.
So the competition has started officially. You'll hear a bunch of noise in the background, but I just thought I would ask Danny just some insight as somebody who has competed in this multiple times before. What's it like at this point in the competition for the people right in the heat of it?
Obviously, these guys, they've put in so much practice, time, effort to get here. It's all started now, and I always found that right at the start, as soon as you got forging, the adrenaline would get you and your arms would start locking up. And I mean, you notice was a few of the guys got here very early this morning and started turning shoes. A lot of that's to warm your animal up, but to sort of break down that lactic acid side, they're already warmed up and stuff. I mean, the other thing, and this is so we've spoken about quite a bit over the years, when you look at what a farrier at a contest, especially at this level, puts the body through and they don't warm up. You know, they were in the bar last night, they turn up here, no warm up, no stretching, and they're boom, go. I mean, I think it's almost like I've always wanted to see like some sports science person actually look at because a lot of these farriers, they don't look like athletes. But underneath, there's something, because it's a hell of a workout, you know.
No kidding.
And it gets harder towards the end as well. So, and then they go back to the bar. So
To rejuvenate.
exactly. So, but again, you know, this being a team contest, this round being 2 hours, it's about playing it. I mean, I was one of those. I want to do a bit of forging. I want my arms to start getting pumped up and lock up. Then go and trim the foot and give it chance. And then when you go back to your forging, you've had that initial warm up and everything starts to free up. But again, you've got to pace yourself as well, because 2 hours is a long time, you know. And again, you've got to keep the fluids in. And you see some farriers drinking out of water bottles. Well, they've probably got all kinds of sort of sports isotonic drinks, you know, to keep the fluids, keep the salts, keep the sugars up. It is an endurance event, isn't it? So.
Yeah, and I've always found that too. The initial, whether it's an exam or a competition, that initial sort of adrenaline rush and then lockup.
Yeah, bananas help. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Some potassium.
I've seen loads of people try various different techniques over the years, but the one thing, like I say, we don't do is warm up and stretch. And there are exercises you can do. And funny enough, when I was doing the mountain biking, same like anyone who does motocross or anything like that, you do get arm pump, and it's the same lactic acid build up in your forearms that you get swinging a hammer. So there are things I learned through that, which, you know, to do with handlebar size, grip size and stuff like that, which will make a difference, you know. You know, so if you start looking into that and changing your technique, you're going to make this a lot easier.
Wise words that we all should probably heed before we start a day of shoeing.
Hi, I'm Holly Flack, and I work for the British Farriers and Blacksmith Association.
As with all successfully run events, there is usually someone behind the scenes who works tirelessly to make everything happen in the proper manner. Usually their efforts go relatively unrecognized, but without their commitment to this thankless endeavor, it probably wouldn't happen at all. That individual in this case is personified by Holly Flack, the membership secretary for the BFBA. She was a busy bee the entire time and not a fan of being interviewed, but I managed to get her to briefly fill me in on what she'd been up to the past few months and what she did in general at the BFBA.
Just really been focused on building up to the event. Yeah, liaising with Mark all the time, making sure that he's got everything he needs. And yeah, talking to the exhibitors, getting everything booked in, and doing floor plans, things like that. So yeah, and then liaising with the showground. Yeah, kind of getting over sort of little jump through hoops and things that we needed to jump through. And that's pretty much what we've been doing for the last few months. And then, yeah, the rest of the year is focused on sort of membership for the BFBA and, trying to sort of drive and build that.
I asked Holly if the ever-changing iterations and locations of both Focus and the International had presented her with some challenges.
Definitely. So it's over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, it's moved around a bit. So since I remember it, we started off sort of at the Forge, and then we sort of expanded and we were in the field at the Forge. And then we were in the Blackdown halls last year, so which we can pretty much see that from here. Yeah, so just the logistics of things, every single setup is different. You know, it's not the same floor print. Everything's different, the shape, the size, different people to deal with. So yes, all looking good though.
It is. It looks a lot more spacious than perhaps the other spots would have been, as I picture it in my head anyways. Danny gave me a tour of the old Forge, and
It's quite tight in there, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What's your history with the BFBA? How did you get started here?
Back in 2017, so this will be my fifth focus. I started pretty much just came in as membership secretary, and things have just grown from year on year, really, from there. Did a few years on my own, which was challenging, but really exciting and really great. Yeah, we are where we are now, and sort of organising focus and helping Mark with the International. It's great.
Okay, and then once things get started, the fires are lit and the competitors are going,
Do you breathe a sigh of relief? Most of the trouble is over. You can kind of have some fun.
Definitely. This year's different again because usually the international and focus kicks off at the same time, whereas this year it's staggered. So there's going to be two sides of the release. There's going to be when the competition kicks off and everything's running smoothly and Mark gives us a thumbs up, then we know that that's great. And then we'll have the new challenge again on Saturday, getting everyone signed in for focus, making sure all the exhibitors are kind of open and happy. And then after maybe 11 o'clock on Saturday, we'll all kind of go, right, let's have a cup of tea and everything's okay.
And Holly turned out to be right. Everything was okay. During the competition, I meandered through the crowd, doing on-the-spot interviews with competitors and other key players in the event.
I'm Ian Guyjack, and I'm the judge here this weekend.
Ian had the daunting task of co-judging some incredible work that weekend and helping to decide which country was going to hold the title of the best team in the competition. I asked him where he was from and how he came to be one of the judges in this prestigious contest.
Well, I'm from Edinburgh in the southeast of Scotland, and I got the invitation to come and judge this, probably because of my age, getting on in life a little bit.
Hey, now, we're the same age. We already cleared that up.
But I've been a competitor here for many years, part of the Scottish national fire team for 10 years, I would think, maybe more. So yeah, it's time to give a little bit back. So when I got the invitation, I was more than delighted to take the offer up.
For sure. So what sort of things are you going to be looking for today?
Clean, well-executed basics. Nothing over the top, nothing too far out there. Good, solid basics.
And by the end of the 2 days, there was exactly that type of work to be found everywhere throughout the competition arena. A huge sponsor of the International was an organization that's very near and dear to my heart, the American Farriers Association. And there to represent was El Presidente himself, Hank Chisholm. I asked Hank what brought him out to the competition.
To support the USA team.
And support them he did, although I think the cheerleader outfit and the pom-poms was a little over the top. I also managed to catch up with a few other members of the American team.
It's Juan Baruman, Sawyer Spradling.
I asked Juan and Sawyer how they felt their first round went.
Pretty good. It's fast. We knew it was going to be fast even in the 2 hour go. But I feel like we had more time today because of the adrenaline kicked in, you know. But we settled in about 10, 15 minutes into the go, and it was smooth. It went good. We hit all our time checks, I think. Didn't run overtime on anything, and it went good.
How about you? How do you feel?
Good. Happy to be here and finally be next to all these awesome competitors and have this opportunity. You know, we're lucky to be here, and it was a good run. You know, there's always holes that we wish we would have covered up and done better, but I think that's with everything. I just hope that somebody else had a little more holes than we did. But yeah, it was a good go, and I think, you know, we were awesome horse to work on. Everything here has been great. Fires were good. You know, they did a great job setting this up, and it was really easy to be smooth.
I also ran into the American team manager, Travis Smith. I asked him how far back the process started to prepare the team for this event.
We start preparing as soon as we select a team. We try to set up our practices and everything, and then already start aligning where we're going to come and practice before the contest. And it works out great because we know a lot of guys. We've been around all these guys, and they're very helpful at getting us set up to come over here and practice and get to the contest.
It turns out that Travis himself is a veteran of the International and had competed 3 times in the past for the American team. And speaking of veterans, I spoke to another veteran of the American team, Daniel Jones, and got him to share a few of his infamous Southern expressions.
All right, so finer than a frog hair split 4 ways, or happier than a unicorn eating a cupcake sitting on a rainbow, shitting on a Democrat.
You'll probably want to adopt those 2 into your list of go-to phrases. Feeling a little homesick by this point, I managed to find some fellow Canucks and asked them how they felt their round went.
Hi, my name's Caleb Green. It went pretty good, I think. There was no big holes or catastrophes in the go, and that's kind of the minimum that you hope for. Nothing super polished or perfect, but these are tight classes and tough shoes, and I think Russ and I working together pretty good and keeping each other honest. Nothing really to be too upset about.
Russell Floyd, Canadian team, all went pretty good. We always want to do better, and you always look at the job when you're done, and you always, want to tweak a thing or two. But Caleb and I practiced together, and I think things rolled well together. I'm happy. It's all in the judges' hands now. I would like to do a few things better, but that's kind of how these things go.
I caught up with another member of the Canadian team, Chad Lawson, the captain, as he was watching Russell and Caleb's first go. I asked him what was going through his mind as he watched his teammates compete.
This horse that's standing here in front of us, Caleb and Russ are going to do the left side, and then as soon as they're done and out of the way, Riley and I are going to do the right side. So it's team effort to get this horse shod, and it's cumulative points. And then we also have 4 shoes to hand in just for the table.
Right. So as somebody who's sitting here kind of watching and waiting, what goes through your mind in preparation for what you have to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's handy going second because we get to watch these guys. We get to watch the rhythm.
You probably also get to see how the horse is behaving too. I guess that's part of it.
Yeah, that's right. And they have a veterinarian here, so they did a trot out with the horse to make sure he wasn't lame, which ours is good, so that's good. And then it was really nice to watch Russ trim his foot so I could see how much he took off and then how much steel he cut. So even just watching it, I'm getting a feel for how I'm going to go about trimming my foot, and I've already got it kind of how much steel I'm going to cut and what I'm going to draw to.
I also managed to catch up with another member of the Canadian team, Canada Kim, who is well known around England from her participation in the cultural exchange several years ago. I asked Kim how her round went in the propane forges.
It went really well. Everybody has everything all organized, so when we come over here, we don't really have much, so we just kind of borrow from everybody, and the Scottish and the English just kind of threw things in for me and had no problem getting something sorted, and had my quick hour go, and now it's going to be cheering on the guys is, I guess, the next round.
Cool. And so as part of that round that you just did, there was a bit of a draw system going with the shoes that you had to do. How did that pan out for you?
Oh, good. Yeah. So we start out with the 4 gas forging shoes for the open teams, and then the reserve gets 1 from each judge picked, and we find out the night before. So they were my favorite too. So I guess I got lucky.
Oh, perfect. I've noticed you have had to be the one to herd the cats with the Canadian team the entire time. How's that experience been for you?
Oh, it's been great. The guys are awesome, but I guess I have a bit of experience over here that they might not, and they listen real well. They're awesome, and they have so much fun. I've learned a lot of their own personal schedules, and when we need to get places, how much time to give them, and we all just get in the van and off we go. They've got great attitudes. We've had a ton of fun, ton of laughs, and I think the bond we've created in the last week without even realizing it, it's been phenomenal. Like, the opportunity is just really cool, and I had no idea until I'm actually here now.
This concept Kim was talking about, of the team bond, was pretty prevalent throughout the entire competition. Another cohesive group was the Swiss team.
So I'm speaking to Alex of the Swiss team. We're just going over his shoeing job. He's taking some slack from his teammates. So how do you feel the run went?
The run went really well. Just accept that little mistake that I was too tight in the inside. But no, I'm quite happy with the rest of the job. I left my specimen a little bit behind, so I had more focus on the shoeing.
It's tough to find that balance, right? Like, you really want to do a good job on the foot, but you can really get dragged into down the wormhole time-wise.
Yes, you do, because even you with your teammates, you have to be careful that he can catch up as well. So, but our goal is, we prefer the foot, and then finish up with the specimen, so you can take your time on the foot and get the rest done. But you have to match each other and find the middle of it.
Right. Yeah, which is not an easy task. So when you're in the heat of a run and you guys are still sort of figuring each other out, what are some keys to kind of making it all work?
Yeah, the key is we know each other pretty well. So one guy, he's been working with me, and those other 2 guys, they've been shoeing together for a long time. So we actually do know what the other guys wants to do, and like that, we prepare us with go through the classes just in mind, and see what happens.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. It looks like a nice job from here, so
Yeah, it's always from the side.
hopefully the judges think so too.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
I also managed to catch up with a few members of the Swedish team. They too didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this contest as a unit.
My name is Johannes Sandsten Atlasson from Sweden. And Simon Bodner.
Jesper Eriksson Eurenius.
I know quite a few of the teams, because of COVID, have been fairly newly put together. How long have you guys been able to sort of practice for this as a team?
Well, as a team, maybe for 1.5 months. The program was coming out pretty late, but we have been doing as much as we could in this time. But we have been doing some stuff earlier also together. But for this competition, it's like 1.5 months. Yeah.
As it turns out, Simon Bodner is one of this year's judges at the International. Just before meeting the team, I had learned from Danny Bennett that Simon actually wrote a book called The Farrier's Tools, Maintenance and Tips. I have since ordered many copies of this book for my farrier friends and myself. Here's Simon explaining how it came to be.
It's more like a collection of things that I learned from friends, all around the world, and not really something that some things came up by my own mind, but most of it is a collection. And I wrote it first in Swedish, and it got translated into English and French, German, and Spanish, Italian. We're working on the Portuguese version now. Yeah, and for every version, for every edition, you change something. It's a growing project. It's very easy to understand all the process of sharpening a knife and the angles and how a fuller work and how you set up a fuller, very basic. And I think it's great. Helped me a lot.
Danny explained it to me, and then he said one day I think it was during COVID, he just sat down with the book and tuned up all of his tools based on the book.
We don't do that. We just hand our tools to Simon.
Yeah.
The real deal. We don't use the book. We just use Simon. It took me half an hour to put together 2 stamps for the E12 nail yesterday. Not the day before, yeah. Because I couldn't do it myself, yeah.
No episode about the International would be complete without a few words from the Scottish team manager, the legendary Jim Belfer. Conversations between Jim and I are always a challenge between my hearing loss and his heavy accent. But we always have quite a few good laughs and share some great stories. Here he is proudly describing how his Scottish team is faring so far.
Well, I'm Jim Balfour, the team manager for the Scottish, and the first time went very well with Devon Creer and Davy Verini, and it come off quite happy. They were all smiling. So let's see if we could keep it up for the second round with young Lewis and Andy Dryborough. Things are going well just now.
A true veteran of the International, I asked Jim how long he'd been coming to this event.
I started coming here in 1982, and I think maybe about the last 10 years I've been team manager. I haven't missed a year at Stoneleigh, so it's been great fun. Good crowds.
Well, as the dust settled and the anvils all fell silent, Team Ireland came out as the winners of the overall team championships. They were so busy winning during the competition that I didn't have a chance to interview the individual members, but I did get a chance to have a few words with their manager while we were busy setting up the venue.
I'm Alwyn McKeown. I'm from Northern Ireland, and I'm the Irish team manager.
Great. So, and you actually volunteered to help out, set things up here today?
Yeah, I've been on the craft committee for a few years now, and we tend to come over and help out. It depends on flights, but we got over early this morning, so we'll help out and set up.
How many years have you been coming to this event?
I came here in 2000, competed in 2001 on the team, and I've now got roped into being team manager. So yeah, it's for my sins. But
So do you find that you're paying for all those sins, all the trouble you gave your former team manager?
No, he sort of lined me up for the job, and to be fair, the lads are good. We've got a good bunch of guys, and they put in the work. It's not too much hassle.
Gotcha. Now with COVID, I know back home, our team only got together in July and got going practicing together. How about yourselves? How long have you been practicing?
We've only had one team meet up together this year. We had the same thing. We couldn't have a team trial because of COVID, so the team stayed the same as previous years. Right. But yeah, they've only met up once. The guys have met up in pairs, but they haven't actually met as a complete team only once.
Most people are in the same boat, so it'll kind of even the playing field that way. How do you feel going into this?
I think the guys have actually got better. Some of their specimens are better than previous years. They seem better prepared, and work's been good on the feet. They've all done a few competitions beforehand, so fingers crossed. They're still trying to win it, so we are. So,
and win it, they did. On the final day of the weekend, only Focus was running and the bladesmithing competition, and Danny Bennett and I toured around together, interviewing people at the various booths. Most of that audio and video is available through Danny's various social media platforms, including his podcast, the Lockdown Farriery Podcast. Now going to Stoneleigh has become a bit of a tradition for me, with this being my 3rd year running. It's such a great venue to catch up with friends from around the world, and of course bro out with my Thunder buddy Danny Bennett. From what I've been told, there's quite a contingent of North Americans heading over this year. If you're from my side of the pond and haven't already bought tickets, please do. I guarantee it's worth it. I hope to see you there. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other out there. We'll talk soon.